Welcome back to Quarter Dollar, the place where dusty jars and forgotten drawers can hide life-changing treasures. Today, we're diving into the world of Lincoln wheat pennies, but not the shiny ones you'd expect. These are the coins everyone else would overlook, scratched, worn, corroded, even downright ugly. Yet, hidden in their battered faces is the kind of value that can make your heart skip a beat. And trust me, by the time you see our number one, you'll be checking every coin you've ever owned. So grab your magnifying glass, settle in, and let's uncover the shocking truth behind these bad-condition beauties. And if you love the thrill of coin hunting, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next jaw-dropping discovery.
First up, we've got the 1923 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark, struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Now, the example we're looking at today has clearly seen better days. It's in extremely circulated condition with heavy wear across Lincoln's face and coat. The once sharp details are now soft, with some areas almost blending into the coin surface. The date itself, 1923, is still visible but pitted, making it hard to read clearly without close inspection. Adding to its challenges are dark black spots scattered across both sides, along with a generally uneven, aged surface that shows its long journey through countless hands over the past century. This isn't a pristine coin, but sometimes coins like this still have stories that make them worth paying attention to. If you love uncovering coin secrets and rare finds, make sure to subscribe here, and also check out my second channel, U.S. Mint Mysteries, where we dig even deeper into the stories behind America's rarest coins. Hit that subscribe button on both channels so you don't miss a single discovery. I've dropped the link to U.S. Mint Mysteries in the first comment below. Go check it out. Now, let's talk history. The 1923 wheat penny belongs to the classic Lincoln cent series that began in 1909. By 1923, the United States was still dealing with the after effects of World War I and entering the Roaring Twenties. Philadelphia, being the main mint, produced more than 74 million of these coins, which makes them relatively common in lower grades today. However, when it comes to coins, condition is everything. In a worn-down state like this one, it's easy to dismiss them as pocket change, but high-grade survivors can fetch serious money. That's why collectors are always hunting for sharp examples, because they know that even with high mintage numbers, very few coins survive in top condition. Looking closely at this circulated 1923 penny, you'll notice the iconic Victor David Brenner design. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln still stares forward, though the details of his hair, cheek, and jawline are almost completely smoothed away. The rim, once sharp, is now blended with the fields of the coin, giving it a flat look. The reverse tells a similar story. The wheat stalks, which should show fine parallel lines, are mostly flat and worn, and the central lettering 1 cent has softened over time. Environmental damage has left behind black spots and tiny pits, likely caused by moisture exposure or storage in poor conditions. For collectors, these flaws greatly reduce the coin's value, but they also give a kind of rugged charm that shows how far the coin has traveled. Now, what about value? In its current extremely circulated state, a 1923 penny like this might only bring a few cents above face value. Dealers and collectors generally aren't going to pay much for a piece with this much wear and environmental damage. But here's the fascinating part. The same coin, in uncirculated condition with sharp red surfaces, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. For example, a pristine red 1923 Lincoln cent graded MS-65 has sold for over $3,000 at auction. That's the power of condition in coin collecting. Two coins struck in the same year from the same mint, but stored and handled differently for 100 years, can have values worlds apart. Collectors also keep an eye out for errors and varieties on these coins. While the 1923 doesn't have as many famous errors as other dates, there are occasional die cracks, off-center strikes, and weak strikes that can add interest. Even a minor minting flaw can sometimes lift a coin out of the ordinary and make it collectible, even in worn condition. That's why it's always worth giving every old penny a closer look, even ones that seem too far gone at first glance. Another reason the 1923 penny is important is its role in the Lincoln series timeline. Just a year earlier, in 1922, the Denver Mint produced the famous 1922 No D penny, one of the most sought-after rarities in the entire wheat cent series. Coming right after that, the 1923 Philadelphia issue feels like a return to normal production, but it still carries the historical weight of its time. Owning a 1923 penny, even in rough shape, is like holding on to a piece of America's economic story during the booming 1920s. For collectors who are just starting out, coins like this are often the first step. A heavily circulated 1923 penny isn't expensive, so it's accessible to beginners, yet it still has a century of history built into it. Experienced collectors, on the other hand, might pass over circulated examples like this, waiting instead for that elusive high-grade beauty. But no matter where you stand, every coin tells a story. Next up, let's take a look at the 1935 Lincoln Wheat penny. Right away, you can tell this coin has seen many hands and pockets over the years. It's extremely circulated, the surfaces are worn down, and most of the fine details on Lincoln's portrait are flat. The wheat stalks on the reverse are also faint, and you can barely make out the sharp lines that once stood out clearly. This kind of condition tells a story. This penny lived its full life in everyday use, carrying purchasing power in Depression-era America. Imagine how many times it might have bought a newspaper, a cup of coffee, or even helped fill a gas tank when prices were only cents. Every mark and scratch is a small piece of that history. Now, as with many circulated Lincoln Wheat pennies, the value isn't particularly high in this condition. A 1935 penny without a mint mark produced in Philadelphia is common, with over 245 million struck that year. That large mintage means plenty survived, though most, like this one, are heavily worn. In extremely circulated condition, you'd expect a coin like this to be worth only a few cents to maybe 25 cents at most. Collectors are often more interested in higher grade examples where Lincoln's hair detail and the wheat ears are still crisp, but that doesn't mean coins like this are worthless. Far from it. For new collectors, an affordable 1935 wheat penny is a great starting point for building a date set. One thing worth mentioning about these pennies is their metal composition. Like other wheat cents from 1909 to 1942, this coin is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Over time, copper coins develop interesting colorations depending on how they've been stored and handled. Some turn dark brown like this one, while others pick up spots or pitted areas from moisture exposure. That's exactly what we see here, dark surfaces with scattered black spots adding to its well-traveled appearance. While not appealing to all collectors, others enjoy these as honest coins, pieces that weren't tucked away but truly used. Now, in higher grades, the 1935 penny can fetch better money. An uncirculated example with sharp detail and bright red luster could bring $20 to $30 or more. And if you happen to come across a mint state gem with strong color, the value can climb past $100. The real treasures are the top population coins graded by services like PCGS and NGC, where auction results have hit several $100s. But again, those are the rare survivors, while most, like the one in front of us, tell the story of circulation. So while this particular 1935 penny won't make you rich, it still has its place in a collection. It connects you to a time nearly 90 years ago when pennies truly had purchasing power. And if you're working on filling a Lincoln Wheat Cent album, this coin would slide into the 1935 slot just fine. It's a reminder that not every coin has to be pristine to be meaningful. Sometimes the wear itself is part of the charm. Next up, we have the 1956 Lincoln Wheat penny, and this one is in a very rusted condition. As right away, you can tell this coin has gone through decades of rough handling and environmental damage. The surfaces are heavily corroded, with patches of rust covering both the obverse and reverse. The details are muted, and Lincoln's profile looks worn almost to the point of fading away. On the reverse, the wheat stalks that normally stand out proudly have blended into the corroded metal, and the lettering is patchy and uneven because of the rust. This is the kind of condition that shows the coin spent much of its life exposed to moisture, perhaps in the ground, in damp storage, or left outdoors for years. While it doesn't have the visual sharpness collectors love, it does carry its own story of survival. The 1956 penny itself is part of the last decade of the Wheat Cent series, which ran from 1909 to 1958. More than 420 million were minted at Philadelphia that year, so the coin isn't rare by mintage numbers. However, condition always plays a big role in value, and this one falls on the lower end of the spectrum because of the rust and corrosion. In pristine mint state, a 1956 penny can bring anywhere from $10 to $25 depending on the grade, and higher if it has a brilliant red finish. Error coins, like double dies or off-center strikes, can push the value much higher into the hundreds. Unfortunately, in a rusted condition like this, the coin's market value is minimal, so often just a few cents, maybe up to 25 cents to someone who enjoys collecting story coins that show wear in history. Still, coins like this shouldn't be overlooked. Even though the 1956 wheat penny in this condition doesn't carry monetary value, it connects us to the past. Think about it. This coin could have been in circulation when Dwight D. Eisenhower was president, or sitting in someone's pocket when Elvis Presley was climbing the music charts. It likely changed hands in small-town shops, was used to buy candy or newspapers, and then somehow was left in a damp place where time and rust took their toll. That makes it more than just a piece of metal. It's a fragment of everyday American life from the 1950s. For collectors, coins like this are often used as teaching tools. They're great for showing the effects of circulation, environmental damage, and how different metals age over time. A shiny, uncirculated coin and a rusted one like this tell two sides of the same story. Together, they highlight why coin preservation is so important and why finding coins in better condition is such a thrill. So while this particular 1956 wheat penny won't fetch big dollars, it's still a fascinating find. It represents the resilience of coins in the passage of history, even when time hasn't been kind to its appearance. Sometimes it's not about the value, it's about the story. Next up, we're looking at a 1911 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark, and right away, you can see just how extremely pitted and worn out this coin is. The surfaces are rough with heavy corrosion and pitting that have nearly swallowed up the finer details. The date, 1911, is still visible but not sharp, and much of Lincoln's portrait has been worn down to a flat outline. The wheat stalks on the reverse are almost unrecognizable, blending into the background because of both circulation wear and the deep damage that time has inflicted. This coin has been through over a century of circulation and harsh conditions, and every pit and scratch tells part of that long journey. Now, 1911 was an interesting year for the wheat penny. These coins were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with Philadelphia coins like this one carrying no mint mark. More than 101 million were struck at Philadelphia alone, which means these aren't particularly rare in general. But condition makes all the difference. In higher grades, like crisp, uncirculated examples, a 1901 penny can fetch 50s or more, and even more if it has a sharp strike and full red surfaces. However, in a condition like this, extremely worn and heavily pitted, the value is mostly sentimental or perhaps a small amount over face value to collectors who appreciate the history. Even though this coin doesn't carry great monetary value, it still represents an important part of U.S. coinage history. The wheat penny series, which started in 1909 with the Lincoln cent, was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. President Lincoln was chosen to honor the 100th anniversary of his birth, and the coin was designed by Victor David Brenner. So even though this 1911 is damaged and well-worn, it still ties back to that historic moment when America broke tradition and placed a president's face on everyday money. If this coin were in a collector's hands back in 1911, it might have been shiny and copper red, carrying that fresh luster, but now after surviving wars, economic struggles, and countless hands and pockets, it has transformed into what we see here, an artifact of use. Collectors often call coins like this relic condition. They're not investment pieces, but they are still valuable in telling the story of what these coins went through. So while a 1911 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in this rough condition won't earn you much at auction, it remains a small physical reminder of over 100 years of American history. And for some collectors, that alone is worth holding on to. Next up, we're taking a closer look at a 1938 D Lincoln wheat penny found in circulated condition. Right away, you can see that this coin carries the kind of honest wear that tells us it's been in the hands of countless people over the years. The D mint mark just below the date stands for the Denver Mint, which struck a little over 20 million of these coins in 1938. While that number may sound like a lot, it's actually on the lower side compared to many other wheat penny issues. That makes the 1938 D somewhat more desirable to collectors, especially when found in better grades. In the condition we're seeing here, circulated with clear signs of wear, it's not a rare treasure, but it's still an important piece of history worth talking about. On the obverse, we see Abraham Lincoln's profile, a design created by Victor David Brenner in 1909. After nearly 3 decades in circulation by the time this coin was struck, the design remained sharp, but you'll notice here that Lincoln's cheek, jawline, and hair detail have flattened from wear. The date is still readable, which is fortunate because once the date fades away, collectors often see much of the coin's value vanish. The reverse shows the familiar 1 cent between wheat stalks, but in this circulated condition, many of the fine lines on the wheat ears are worn smooth. The motto E pluribus unum across the top is still there, but softened. Now, in terms of value, a 1938 D Lincoln wheat penny in this circulated grade is usually worth between 20 cents and $1, depending on the exact condition. That might not sound like much, but the real story with coins like this comes when you find them in higher grades. In uncirculated condition with full luster and sharp details, these coins can bring 20, 30, 30s, or even more. And here's the kickers. If you happen to stumble across a superb gem graded MS67, you're looking at values well over $1,000 at auction. That's the huge difference condition makes when it comes to coin collecting. Error varieties can also play a role with this coin. Some 1938 D pennies show off-center strikes, die cracks, or even repunched mint marks. Collectors love those small quirks, and they can turn an ordinary penny into something much more valuable. That's why even if your coin looks worn down like this one, it's worth giving it a closer inspection under magnification. At the end of the day, this 1938 D Lincoln wheat penny in circulated condition may not make you rich, but it represents a fascinating moment in American history. This was a coin minted just before World War II, during the tail end of the Great Depression, when every penny truly mattered. Coins like these connected people across the country through everyday transactions, and holding one today is like holding a small, tangible piece of that story.